Hi everyone, it's Killshot99 Gaming. This is The Walking Dead Season 9, Episode 16. Negan saves the day, and by the amount of people popping in the stream, I can tell we got a lot of brand new Negan fans after last night's episode. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. This is, I think, our 5th stream of the day. A lot of content out there over the last few days, and in fact, over the last month. We've been grouping together quite a bit. So tomorrow night, we will be doing one stream at 9 o'clock. I know some people are like, no, we've spent hours and hours talking about it, but we are going to consolidate some of our topics. And so instead of just like a lot of the themes, we'll have a central point. And then after we kind of hit that central point, we'll do what we do, and we'll probably go all over the place. We do have a brand new Patreon. We got Chip Smith in the house. Thank you so much, Chip Smith. And also, Chip has become a Patreon and a channel member all at the same time. And we haven't seen you in a little while, so we appreciate you being back. And we're going to jump right into it because there were some really, really good lines in last night's episode. And also, what we considered, I think from a while back, that Negan had to hit several bullet points in order to get back into good graces of the fans. And not only in the good graces of the fans, but also in the characters themselves. Because we sort of accept a lot of times what they accept. And I thought the conversation with Michonne was pretty telling. It really started, I think, with the, I think Michonne saw it a little bit, but she was in denial with the jail scene. When Judith was listening in, Judith kind of worked on her a little bit and said, you know, he's not a monster, he's a person. And when she kind of got caught listening in, she ran around the corner. Negan's reaction, I think Michonne kind of felt that vibe as well. So we're going to jump around, get into a few topics tonight. Some of the better Negan lines. Natalie says, I love that Judith wanted more Negan time. I love that too. And she's got it now. So this friendship certainly could be something I think that carries over long term if Michonne does leave. Wilson, great point. People that are evil don't realize that they're evil. This was building up to this point. I think we got a kind of a needling line or two throughout the season, but they kept going from Negan's journey, then back to jail, and then it seemed like he was a wasted character to a certain degree, and it almost seemed predictable that something big was going to happen. Northside Queen said, I'm mad. Nobody else ran after Judith except for Negan. Northside Queen, I didn't check this, but someone told me that if you turned on the captions that you could hear a couple other people were out there looking for Judith. I did not turn them on, but they said you could hear some voices in the background, and it was Rosita and someone else, I thought. Rob Morris, love the show kills, but right now, I got to take a shot. Rob, why can't you do both? It's just a question. Just wondering. I'll still be here when you get back. And a lot of people are just kind of getting in right now, and I understand it because you don't get the notifications all the time. But starting tomorrow, 9 o'clock will be a good plan. If we do double streams at some point, then I'll give you guys, we'll put it on the calendar in advance notice. Uncle Creepy needed to be broke down completely to rebuild as a character. Well, you know what was nice about that Uncle Creepy is even the little subtle line he said when he was in the hospital bed. And he said, last time I was here, Rick had just slit my throat. This is a piece of cake. It shows that he remembers, but he's over it. Oh, hold on. Kel, was that the deal? Oh, I see what it is. I guess Kel will help you sign up as a member, and the payment is you have to show the Tim Tebow emoji. You got to show the Kel moderator emoji. Very nice, Kel. Very nice. So there you go. Here, I'll help out with it because you have done a really, really good job with some of the new members. If you guys do me a favor, if you guys are members, quick shout out to Kel. Just, I think we've added about 10 new members over the last 3 or 4 days, and many of those have reached Kel, contacted her, and she spent time sort of walking them through how to do it. So if you guys are interested in becoming a member, that's the person to reach out to. And Chip is a Clemson fan, which I guess that's like, that's kind of tough, Chip, for a Clemson fan to put that up there. But there you go. He's like, thank you. I'll give you the thank you sign. Yeah, that is a good point, too. Daryl, I'd forgotten about that until last night on Talking Dead. Carol has never met Negan. And although they like each other's actors, what is that going to be like? Is that going to be like Lydia Exile Round 2? Where, look, some people start to like Lydia and then there's 2 or 3 people bullying Lydia. Is Carol going to be the bully of Negan? She not going to let it go? All she knows at this point is, like she said last night, you're the guy that killed Glenn and Abraham. Carol's an arsonist. Yeah, I don't think she'll burn Negan up. I think everybody's kind of gotten over it. But she certainly, I was going to say she's certainly not going to make him any cookies, but she might make him some cookies. That's creepy. And I was saying while he was typing it, it was perfect. Perfect transition. There were also a couple minor shots that Negan took last night that may have went unnoticed. The big lines are good. Obviously, the most memorable are going to be Father, Not the Father, and Dr. Baby Daddy, which he used multiple times. But Judith had a good line. I think Judith's line was, I was trying to listen in. I think Judith asked Negan, do I look like shit? And then he said, language, Miss Grimes. So I guess she was, she's definitely like her dad. That was incredible. And he did whisper, he goes, I know why you're doing this. Oh, she said your leg looks like shit. Okay. And he said, I know why you're doing this. You're doing this to get more Negan time. And then he made it a point to talk about how important the dog was. Yeah, very good, very good. I got it. We got it. Hold on, I had a comment up here I wanted to catch up to. No, it streamed pretty quick. I missed it, everybody. We can blame Judith for making Negan not swear. They just have such a good dynamic where, one will kind of say it and forgive the other one and then vice versa. But the one moment where Michonne stopped and paused was when Negan said, I overheard Dr. Baby Daddy said there was some trouble with the royalty brigade. Just those casual lines. He's kind of mocking Ezekiel and Carol, but at the same time he's concerned. Such a unique perspective. The royalty brigade. It's a little goofy, it's a little funny, but we still care about you. And that kind of made Michonne pause. She's like, oh, you care? And just absolutely amazing writing. It's easy to miss that. I missed it the first couple times, and then I went back, and I'm just writing down like almost everything the guy says and every action. And we saw Eugene do it, which wasn't far-fetched. So just a off-the-wall question. We saw Michonne is willing to have a conversation. Do you guys think we'll ever get to a point where Michonne actually laughs at one of Negan's jokes? I didn't see if it happened, if she grinned or she smiled or anything along those lines. I think she kept a pretty straight face, even though she was giving him a little bit of time for the conversation. But he did say he knows more than he's leading on to. He's listening in. Michonne was sort of building it up as, hey, we all came together, we got here. And he says, you cut through their territory? Ballsy. Certainly, he knows what's going on. But I'm telling you, Michonne is using him. I feel like she's using him to get him to go out and fight. She almost got a look when he said, the ones that are evil don't know they're evil. Her response was like, I got an idea. Watch that again and see if that is going to be the turning moment to where she's going to challenge him a little bit and say, you know what? You want to prove yourself? You go fight that guy. You go protect us. Go protect Judith. Get out there and let's see. You said that, Rick had something better planned for you. Don't back down from it now. Go out there. What's your idea? So I think she knows that he's got a little bit to offer. And certainly, I asked this question probably about 2 weeks ago when the whole issue of trust was coming up. Would you rather Negan be on your side, or would you rather Negan be with the Whispers? And I think if that is the tiebreaker, I would rather Negan be on my side. On at 55 says, Negan wants to help Michonne by killing Beta or Alpha to gain her trust. Yeah, that could play out. With all the people we lost, if Negan were to carry out the comic scene, and let's say he were to decapitate Alpha and say, wait until such and such gets a look at this. I don't know that anybody on those pikes would be really, really worthy of that line or worthy of revenge unless it was Negan decapitating Alpha and saying, wait until Carol gets a look at this, or wait until Ezekiel gets a look at this. I almost feel like there's more untold story. Maybe there will be something that goes down between Negan and Carol, and he kills Alpha and says, wait until Carol gets a look at this. I don't feel like it's worthy of the scene. You guys see where I'm coming from? I don't know if it's worthy of killing Alpha to impress Michonne at some point, because nobody that was piked was really, really that important to Michonne. And I mean, Tara, yes. DJ, yes. But I think you could argue Henry was more important to Carol and Ezekiel than Tara was to Michonne. Unless, of course, there's some more deaths that still have to take place. Somebody that might be a little bit more important. William, The Walking Dead Billboard, says, I think he really just wants to help and have a place to belong to. Well, certainly that is true. And I think after seeing it visually play out, William, I think a lot more people have that perspective now, because you've been in most of these streams. We've went through several stages of fan denial. And I've given some hypotheticals. I've said, if Negan saves Daryl, would that wake up a couple fans? Would you forgive him then? And I said, if Negan saves Judith, would that change a few things? And there were some people still on the fence, and I said, you wait till you see it on screen and it visually plays out. When you see it visually play out, it's going to have a different meaning, a different impact. So Negan does want to fit in, but there's still that small bit of doubt that he could become power hungry again once he gets Lucille in his hands. 1189 Paris says, how about Judith killing Alpha to save Negan? Negan kills Beta. Negan gets captured. Judith kills Alpha. I would love to see it. Now, I don't think 1189 Paris, I don't think they're going to show a kid decapitate an adult. I just really don't. I could see Judith shooting Alpha, but I almost feel like the decapitation has to be paying tribute to somebody else that got decapitated. Maybe. I mean, the Carol Henry thing might work a little bit better. Crystal Singer Chick Gore says Negan is a different person with Judith when they see him. Well, Crystal, that's true. He's a different person with Judith. And I got to think, the way he dropped everything and ran out there, could you imagine if the slightest little threat came to her? He's going to be a beast. If the Whisperers were to capture her or something were to happen along those lines, you're going to see, I think that's what fans are afraid of. They're afraid he might not be able to control it. So I did find this interesting. And if you guys watched Talking Dead last night, you'll know what I'm talking about. And even in Angela Kang did an interview today, EW.com. And she's very careful to articulate to the fans that Negan has not changed all the way. He's still going to be a little bit of the same at heart. He's still going to get to you. He's still going to antagonize you a little bit. But at the same time, he's got something to fight for and he wants to fit in. So she was careful to say, don't expect him to be totally different, lose his personality. But at the same time, you might be able to count on him a little bit more because he has changed. Very carefully worded. Trust, but be cautious is what I read into that. Did you guys feel some of the same warning signs from Angela Kang? I mean, maybe she just wanted us to, not think he's just going to wimp out and not be the same funny guy. Exactly. I agree, Viola. He wouldn't be the same. And I actually like laughing at some of his jokes now. I really couldn't for a long time. How many people here are afraid to trust Negan because you don't want to get too close to him? You feel like he's going to disappoint you again. Just kind of a quick show of hands. And also, everybody do me a favor. Let's Kang that like button. See if we can get this thing up, rolling along. Pike the like button. Lucille the like button. All right, so a few people are like, no, they're fine. Tommy, totally trust him. He's cool with me. Still don't trust him, says Lynn. Northside Queen. Don't totally trust. All right, a few people don't trust him. They don't want to give in to him because they don't want to be wrong and they don't want to be taken advantage of again. I will tell you this, though. I'm not telling you to like him. But I will tell you, when I changed my perspective and I was like, just screw it. Doesn't matter. I'm gonna humor it. I'm gonna listen. I'm not gonna fight back. I'm not gonna dwell on it. It's actually a different watching experience. It's funnier. I kind of see what some of the other Negan fans saw last year when they were like, yeah, okay, it happened, but they moved on a little bit quicker than I did. I'm one of the ones like you. I'm one of the ones that needed to see him go to jail. I needed to see Maggie not kill him. I needed to see him go back to the sanctuary, and I needed to see him love something like Judith. And it took all of that to get me to be like this last episode, and I was like, this is pretty good. He's funny. So I was on the laughing side of it. Now, the fear with that is if this sucker turns on the group again, or after the Whisperer War, if he does something to betray somebody and he becomes, that person again, you should have never trusted me. It's your fault. Kind of that sort of, you give in to him and then he sort of rubs your nose in it that he was really evil all along. Or, a year from now, his last line is with Michonne leaving, and he betrays the group and says, I told you, evil don't really know when they're evil. I mean, I could see that if they were going to write him off the show. And it would create a question and a whole lot of, can evil people really change? I think that's part of the debate right now. Dead on Leprechaun. Negan is my favorite character. Hands down. And my green team out there, the members, if you guys are 100% Team Negan, flash it up on the screen real quick. I'd like to see some Negan emojis. June, I think, June Smith, I think you're Team Negan now. I know you're Team Rick. But, hey, June, he did save Rick's daughter. That counts for something. June's like, nope. I'm putting the Rick Grimes emoji up. It doesn't matter. June. Come on, June. He saved Judith. Judith is alive because of Negan. So, June Smith, here's my question. If my dad was here, what would my dad do? That's the question I got to ask you. I think Rick would put up the Negan emoji. Ooh, Kathy Parker. That is vicious. If Negan turns back to evil, off with his head. You know what? If Negan was to turn on the group again, maybe not 100%, but let's just say he wanted power. He wanted to lead again, but he might want to do it a little bit different. And it didn't fit in here. Miniseries? A Negan mini-movie? Possibility? I love it. I absolutely love the comments of people saying Negan will not turn bad. That is how I know that he's been forgiven by the masses. Those are words I almost thought I would never read on a screen. Negan will never turn on the group. Brad Witham said, I would marry Negan. That's high praise there, Brad. Rachel says, let the council decide. It is nice, and it is also intentional that there's group decisions being made. I think everybody kind of learned. You know, not only did they learn from Negan, they probably learned from what they feel is the death of Rick Grimes. I mean, they think Rick's dead, and I think everybody probably took a step back and said, hey, we don't need one person in charge calling all the shots anymore. Too much pressure on that person. Here's kind of a, I guess a soul-searching question. If Rick Grimes were back on the show, knowing what we know about Rick Grimes from the comic and the TV show, how would Rick Grimes feel about a council? Think about that for a second. If Rick were back, knowing the character, how would he feel about a council? I will tell you this. In the comic, my feeling was that Rick kind of always wanted to call the shots. The TV show might be a little bit different, but in the comic, it seemed like he didn't like for people to rise up against him a whole lot. There's a lot of confrontation, a lot of battle, and a lot of him just kind of going with his own decision. We got a super chat up in here, and it is June Smith. June Smith says, there is hope for Negan. You never know. You know what? One day, June, you might be a bigger fan of Negan than Rick Grimes. Never know how a season's going to play out. Jan Stepp says Negan saving Dog and Judith and Michonne group ended up in the sanctuary. Probably so much Negan episode next season. Oh, I'm going to tell you, this was the build-up. But even on a contractual basis, what they're paying Jeffrey Dean Morgan and what they're paying Norman Reedus, oh, there's going to be a whole lot of FaceTime. Do you guys think we will ever see a true Negan-Daryl partnership? And if Daryl gets in trouble, if there is a partnership and Daryl gets in trouble, will we ever hear the line again, "Got to get me my Daryl back"? Melody hopes. A lot of people hope for that. They have such a good friendship and such a good on-screen dynamic. I think it'd be fun to see it. Melissa says Daryl will always be watching over Negan. Lack of trust. Yeah, I mean, yes, but, you know, Daryl has seen some of the transformation as well. I mean, Daryl saw the evil Negan could do. Daryl drove a truck into the sanctuary. I mean, he was fighting to bring him down. He saw that Rick wanted him alive. Sheila Mack says, kills, I just can't with Negan. So let me ask this question. I mean, we saw a scene between Daryl and Judith sitting on the dock, right? You guys remember that? And then we see very similar interactions between Negan and Judith, maybe even stronger. Does Judith have a stronger bond with Negan or Daryl? All right. So almost everybody's saying Negan. So you really have to hear this out loud in order to think about it. Rick Grimes' daughter has a better relationship with Rick's former enemy than Rick's best friend. That needs to sink in for a minute. Because we almost need to go backwards with this. It's like we've only done this a couple times. It's almost like a reverse funnel. Or maybe it's deductive reasoning. Maybe it's probably more deductive reasoning. So, because Judith supports Negan more than Daryl, would you say there's more pressure on Negan to honor Rick's wishes because of his relationship with Judith? All right, I know that's a little bit confusing. Negan probably does not care about Rick per se, and Rick probably would not care about Negan. But because they both have Judith in common, Negan would be more likely to see the world the way Rick sees it because he knows that's important to Judith. Which is why more and more, I would say to the audience that doesn't trust Negan, if Judith trusts Negan, you should. You don't have to, but I'm just kind of making the argument that if the daughter of the most important character in the history of the show has that feeling for her, and it's not manipulation. It's not to try to score any points. The guy ran out in a blizzard and risked his life. He could have died trying to save her. There was no incentive whatsoever to go out there and save Judith at all. There's nobody watching. There's no high five at the end. There's no, hey, you're going to get a badge of honor. It was, if you watch that scene again and watch his reaction and the fear that he just lost her, that was as real as it gets. I can't even entertain. I'm sorry. If you're really, really passionate about it, I can't believe it. If your argument at this point is he's trying to use her, he's trying to get over, it ain't gonna happen. It just ain't gonna happen. We're always going to disagree. And if the conversation goes forward to whether, what Negan is doing is good for the group, is bad for the group, there's always just going to be a little bit of that stigma. And the thing is, and I'm just saying this, you're always going to see it probably from a slightly jaded perspective. And I'm not singling any one person out because it's multiple people. But I'm just saying from the role of the character, you kind of have to pick a character. So Sheila Mack, this would be my question. If you were a character on the show and you were to put yourself in the role of a character, which character would it be? Not the Sheila Mack character. If you were Judith, if you were Michonne, if you were Carol, which character would you kind of put yourself into the moment? So from a Carol perspective, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, right? And I could certainly buy into that. So right now, with limited knowledge, I wouldn't disagree. Carol is going to know what she knows. She's going to know that people got killed. But the stories are also, they're going to manifest. But then what I would do is I would challenge and say, what if you were in the character of Michonne? You'd probably be somewhere in the middle. But if you were in the character of Judith, there's no fear whatsoever. She could sit down right beside him, have a conversation, no worries. So you kind of got three stages still within the characters. And I think that's where you got to kind of disassociate yourself from what our own personal biases are. Because I have personal biases as well, whether or not I think he's right, whether or not I think he's wrong. But if I were to kind of be in the role of a character, it might be Eugene. And I'd say, wait a minute, I've seen some of the stuff this guy's done. I've seen some of the manipulation behind the scenes. But Eugene's kind of still, I don't think Eugene fears him anymore. But each person is going to sort of have their favorite that they work through. And what's interesting to me is to see it and to see kind of the reactions of the people in the streams, because some were, look, immediately like 5 minutes after Negan killed Glenn and Abraham, there were people that were there that are still here. They're like, hey, I told you from day one, Kills, I was always going to be a Negan fan. I was like, what? That's way too soon. And then there were some people a little bit later, after the Carl death and after the Carl scene, where you could see that Negan was anguishing over Carl. That was the transition point for some of the audience. And like each one of these events, like I would say if we assigned a number to it, everything that the writers have had to do because of that tragic death is they've had to have these events that brings a small percentage of the audience back. So like right after he killed Glenn and Abraham, I'd probably say 95% of the audience hated him. And then a few people warmed up to him. And then, you know, you had like 25% of the audience. So I remember doing these streams a year and a half ago, and 25% of the audience was really trying to convince me, like, you'll see how it plays out in the comics. And I was like, no, I won't ever see it. And then you see it on television and one or two events happen. And then I'd say probably about, you know, before the season started, the audience, what would you guys say? At the start of season 9, would you guys say the audience was probably 50-50 before the beginning of the season when Negan was in jail? Give me a rough estimate, because most of you guys were here. Yeah, Sheila, I'm right there with you because Abraham was my favorite character. However, I didn't have a problem with him killing Abraham. That's the irony. I had a problem with him killing Glenn, and I didn't really like Glenn that much. It was too dark the way it happened. But the death of Abraham didn't bother me one bit because I thought he died in a cool way. So it was probably 50-50 just at the beginning of this season. And then some of the things that we talked about, I think Maggie not killing him, there were a lot of characters who were really team Maggie, and they said, I hope Maggie's the one that goes in there. They're super, super hyped up about Maggie breaking in, and they thought that was going to be the end of him. And when she walked away, I think you had another 5-10% of the audience that came back. So after that, we probably had 60 to 65, 2/3 of the audience were already okay with him. And I've always had that slight little reservation. And I think it is also important, and I'm going to ask the group this question before we wind it down. How many people think it was super, super planned by Angela Kang to have Negan rescue Judith in the season finale? At the very end of the season, to bring as much closure to it as possible. Look, didn't happen in 12, didn't happen in 14, and there's other traps they could have set for Judith. She could have been captured by the Whisperers, something else could have happened. There's a lot of things that could have happened. But they set it up to where it played out exactly at the end to say, you know what, this is where we started, and at the end of the season, we're going to have almost all of the audience. So based on this last Negan, look, there are memes of this picture up on the screen. One of the memes I saw earlier, somebody posted it. Not all heroes have guns. I mean, this thing is going viral with this scene right here. He's almost like a firefighter rescuing a kid. Just the way he's carrying her out, it's so valiant. You know they had to shoot this thing over and over again just to get the right angle, the right light, the right, heroic look of Negan, just where it would be perfect. Nothing coincidental about this shot and that dynamic. So the last thing that I'm going to throw it out to the group, and no question that we ask is ever going to be 100%. Hell, we can't even do a video without having a couple people come in and do 2 or 3 or 4 dislikes before we get halfway through the video. I don't know if we've ever done a video that 100% of the people have come in and liked the video. So it's not trying to convince or change your opinion. It's just kind of stating where the audience is at this point and the path from 95% being against Negan to probably 95% of the audience after 16 being in favor of Negan in some way. So last question I'm going to ask you guys before we close it down for the night, and then we will be here at 9 o'clock tomorrow night talking Walking Dead. If you had to put a percentage on it right now, what percentage of the fans do you think, not in this room, not in this stream, but overall, what percentage of fans do you think are good with Negan at this point? That there's some trust? I got Miss Nina Ray, first time ever saying Team Negan. That episode worked wonders on a lot of people. Julia says 90%, 80%, 85%. 90%? I would definitely say, did you guys see Talking Dead last night? And they did the survey of who should kill Alpha. And who got the most votes? This should work some wonders for your percentages. So on Talking Dead last night, they asked a question, and it was Ezekiel, and it was Daryl, and it was Carol, and it was Negan. Those are the 4 options. And they said, who should be the one to kill Alpha? And the fans that voted for Negan more than any other character. So that should tell you just overall where the direction is going. But don't expect them to play him as a saint. Don't expect them, if he gets an opportunity, not an opportunity to lead or not an opportunity to leave, but if he gets an opportunity to slight someone gradually, I don't think that'll change. I think you're still going to get what you get with Negan. But I also think that if Beta's in front of you and you got to lay it on the line, I think he's going to stand toe-to-toe and fight. And we are 42 minutes into this stream and another passionate Negan conversation. So I want to thank Sheila Mack for being awesome as usual. I love the passionate debate that we get on here and disagree. And I know at the end of the stream, Sheila's going to be Carol, and I'm going to be Eugene, and we're going to have our own viewpoints and our own perspectives. But I think Uncle Creepy or somebody said it a little bit earlier. I kind of called it streaming, that we're going to have different thresholds for different people. And I think for me, the Judith relationship sealed the deal. That once I saw them on screen and I saw the way he acted in talking to her and taking the compass and giving himself up, and she's like, okay, you're going back to Alexandria, and she turns her back, and I'm thinking, like, he could have just drop-kicked this little kid and got on his motorcycle and left, but he's not. He just got this smile on his face like, this is, I like this relationship. And the conversation with Michonne, one thing that really hit home when she thanked him for saving Judith, he said, she's a special girl and you've been through enough. So that's Negan's way of saying, I'm really, really sorry for everything that I put all of you guys through. That's me paraphrasing. All right, everybody, thank you so much for being here. We are at the end of 5 streams. It has been a day, everybody, and I love each and every one of you, but I do have to say I am looking forward to doing one stream tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. So join us. It might be a little bit longer stream than some of the other ones. We've had 20, 25 minutes, but we're going to pack a lot of content in that. I look forward to seeing each and every one of you tomorrow night. And don't forget, a week from tomorrow night, we will be back doing one of our favorite shows, Random Things, as well. I got one more super chat in here before we close it out. We got 1189 Paris. How about Negan saving Daryl and killing Beta instead? Paris, I think it would be a good story. I don't know that there's anything that Negan can do at this point. And the writers brought that situation on. I get it. I don't know there's anything that he can do to fully be ingratiated by the entire audience, the entire Walking Dead world. I do think there's some things he can do to get a few more points here, a few more points there. And some of it is individual. Some depends on how he reacts with each character. If there's a few people hanging on, they don't like him, and they're hardcore Daryl fans, yeah, maybe saving Daryl would get a few more over. And I don't know that, I do know there was a conscious effort for the writers and Angela Kang to get people to accept Negan by the end of the season. They wrote it really hard, and they wrote some miraculous things into the story. But I think if 80, 85, or 90 are there, then the story can go on. The problem's going to be is if too many people hate Negan right now, it's going to be tough for them to write him as a future hero in the story. And that's why I think it's important to kind of take a pulse to see, okay, how many people for maximum impact like Negan, and if 85 to 90% do, yeah, they could have him go out there and kill Beta, and then, yeah, we cheered with that. But if 80% of the audience hates Negan, it doesn't really matter if he kills Beta, does it? It's like, okay, an evil person killed an evil person. So I see that as the direction that the writers are pushing us toward. So we got Sheila Mack super chatting it up and says, best stream with you, Kills. Thank you. And I will say, every stream I do with you guys, it is always a awesome stream, awesome time to interact. I will see everybody here 9 o'clock tomorrow. Thank you so much to all the patrons, all the brand new patrons, all the members, the moderators, Emmy, Steph, Tommy, Kels. Fabulous job, as always. Appreciate everything you guys do. The super chatters, live and well in each and every stream that we do. And the biggest shout-outs that I would like to do is for the 999 Army. And if you guys will forgive me, I am just completely exhausted from the last 3 or 4 days. So I promise I will do more shout-outs tomorrow night. So if you guys will give me a rain check, I'll see you all then. Have a good night, everybody. Peace.